This is the 10-Minute Law Firm Podcast, brought to you by RocketMatter.
Hey everybody, I'm Larry Port from RocketMatter, and this is a video edition of the 10-Minute Law Firm Podcast. And I have with me today Jeff White. He is RocketMatter's Chief Revenue Officer. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
All right. So one of the things that we're seeing in legal practice management, one of the big trends is we're seeing a migration away from on-premise systems. Those are like systems that are installed at your office. And that's one of the drivers of COVID, if you will. Like, so for those people that are in the future, so if you're seeing this after 2020, we are recording this in the midst of the COVID crisis, right? So hi, people in the future. We're still dealing with it. So as an overall trend, let's not talk specific software, but what are you seeing for these on-prem firms that are like moving to the cloud right now?
Well, this definitely pressed the conversation that a lot of people were kind of postponing, right? So a lot of people haven't made the decision to come off premise for one reason or another. It may be a fear of risk and those types of things, but now faced with COVID, everybody's being forced, or a lot of people are being forced to work remote. And so they've felt that pain of having to try to get remote accessibility through either Citrix MetaFrame or remote desktop connection, and that those environments don't really support remote access all that great.
Yeah, they don't. So we're seeing a lot of people running away from these on-premise systems. So the first one, we're going to take a couple of episodes and explore different ones that people are doing. The first legal practice management software is ProLaw that we're going to explore, correct? Okay.
Right.
So let me just take a sip of coffee. By the way, do you like this keep calm and be fabulous mug that I found in my rental house?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Why are people moving away from ProLaw?
I mean, for multiple reasons, right? Since they got acquired by Thomson Reuters, there hasn't been really any updates to the platform to speak of. I mean, even this month they rolled out a release, their 2020.1 release, and there was only basic usability enhancements. There wasn't really anything of impact. And so when they start looking at the broader landscape as it relates to practice management, you're going to want to have something that's going to be well integrated to a whole bunch of other products. And in addition to that, it's an application that's going to be nurtured with development. I mean, even ourselves, we've got 17 new features that are coming out between Q3 and Q4 of this year. And major features, like we just rolled out NetDocs and atomic level permissions and just a whole bunch of stuff as well that's improving productivity for the firm. And people want those benefits, and they want people that are focused on the revenue side by actually providing a very enticing product to the market. You got to do that by building new features.
Right. Okay. So what are some of the things specifically when you talk to ProLaw users that are coming off of ProLaw and moving to RocketMatter, like what are some of their concerns and what are some of the things they're looking for typically?
Yeah, it's really around two different things. Mobility being probably the primary focus, right? I have to either go through MetaFrame or something, or I have to go through remote desktop to get access to the platform. It's also antiquated. It's just not a friendly user experience. Those are probably the two predominant factors. Now, saying it's not user friendly, there's a lot of things that fall under that, right? It's not just personal preference. It's also workflows, automation, those types of things as well that provide for a real clean experience. So those two things I think are where people are seeing that product kind of get left behind specifically.
Interesting. So now when people are coming over to ProLaw, they must have concerns when they're coming from ProLaw to a cloud legal practice management platform like RocketMatter. They probably have concerns about like data migration or getting the staff trained and getting buy-in from people. So like what can law firms expect? Like what is that process like for them?
Well, so most people that are coming off of ProLaw onto RocketMatter are probably mid-market firms. When I say mid-market, it's usually 25 plus users, right? So they're going to have usually either some internal IT staff or they're going to have an outside managed service provider that they work with. And to be candid, most people, and listen, I used to be a CTO myself. I mean, I like control and security and those types of things, but I work for a SaaS company for a reason because, frankly, I believe that we do a phenomenal job of doing that, right? And we allow for internal IT teams to work on what they do best, which is, structure, automation process, et cetera. So for us, that's a conversation that we definitely want to make sure that IT feels comfortable with, right? So because you're taking some of that control out of their control. And it's just candid. That's part of it. So that's one thing. You're gonna have to get some buy-in from the IT teams. The second side of it, though, is that there's going to be a benefit to that, right? So obviously scale, usability, not only that, but you're also going to go ahead and have security, especially like what we saw right now with COVID. So having that a reliance on an internal staff or even a small MSP group, but instead you're relying on a company that's been doing this now for 12 years and has 5.9 uptime and those types of things as well, and it leverages Microsoft Azure and AWS, which is great. As it relates to the migration side of things, that's obviously a very important part of the conversation.
Yeah, and we're talking about moving data from the old system to the new system.
And not only that, but you're also moving documents, right?
Right.
So, and those are two different components that, one is obviously where you're storing your files, your PDFs, your Words, all that kind of stuff as well. However, also in addition to that, where's the financial data, the matter related information, your contacts, you can do your conflict checks, all that kind of stuff. How are we going to get that into a system? And there's a couple different ways we do that. I mean, we've got phenomenal resources inside as well as outside RocketMatter that can help with those migrations. One of the things that we've learned is that by using third-party consultants as well, is that we can leverage their expertise. So, instead of us doing maybe a couple dozen migrations of ProLaw a year, these guys do hundreds, right? So,
right.
And they'll take a real solid look at how do you have your data structured, and put together a plan that makes sense for your firm.
Yeah, and a big shout out to the companies like 3545 and our friends Tony Valenti that do a lot of these data migrations for us. They do a superb job, and they know how the data works on a lot of these different on-prem systems. They know how our data works on our system. What about the training aspect of it? Like, how long does it take for like law firms to get up and running with our software after having used ProLaw, would you say?
Yeah, it's a lot quicker. You're going to see that. So the migration side of it is where you're going to see probably the bulk of the effort being spent. That and configuration. That's also going to be really important in the evaluation process, is to make sure that you have a structured onboarding process, right? That's going to be run by a dedicated onboarder. You want to have a throat to choke during that process, right? So, and then in addition to that, you want it to be very systematic. Somebody who's going to come in there and say, okay, here's your roadmap for 30, 60, and 90 days out. Now, to answer your question directly, it depends on the firm. It depends on the data that's being migrated. It depends also on customization. I've seen migrations and also everything up and running as quick as 30 days. I've seen it take 90 days. I've seen it take 6 months. It just depends on what the effort of the project is. The majority of projects that we have, though, are usually going to be within that 30 to 60 day window before they're actually going to see what we call first value, right? Where they're going to be doing something where they've been off the ProLaw system now, and they can actually use our system day to day to run their operations.
Gotcha. Are there any one final question here, because it is the 10-Minute Law Firm podcast, and I do believe we've extended a little bit. But one final question is that are there any kind of like surprise benefits that people get, you think, when they move from on-prem to cloud? Is there one thing that comes to mind is that they're probably going to be able to take advantage of more integrations than normal. Is that right? Or what would you think?
There's no doubt about that, right? So like us alone, we've got 17 different partnerships that we're bringing on board in the next year alone. Some of these are massive. Like we've got one with Dialpad that's going to provide, a true telephony interface that's going to provide value. What I mean is every single call is being recorded if you want it to be. Everything's being billed, right? So those that are worried about getting even, a 1/10 of an hour billed out, and they're doing a lot of a 1/10 of an hour billing, a telephony integration ensures that you're going to capture every single second that you're on the phone. That's huge. There's other things too. And outside of RocketMatter, just as a use case, look at Microsoft 365. Probably 80 to 90% of the firms that we talk to use that platform. So and that's a good use case of going from on-premise Exchange to Office 365. Look at all the benefits you get. Teams, for example, and the collaboration there within, and other platforms as well, and all the integrations that Office 365 offers as well. So those same type of value-added benefits of going to the cloud, you're going to see those with RocketMatter as well.
Jeff White, Chief Revenue Officer, thank you for your insights about moving away from ProLaw today.
Yeah, thanks, Larry.
This is the 10-Minute Law Firm podcast. Be sure to subscribe and don't forget to rate and review so we can keep bringing you awesome content.